In 2006, when my injury happened, a lot of people looked at my response and they thought it was something to be admired, right? But when I looked at the situation, the beauty of it, at a certain point in my life, I was like, God, what is this, right? At one point, the puzzle started to make sense. Man, it looks as if I'm gonna be a first-round draft pick. At cornerback, I'm calling my mother, hey, Mom, I'm going to the NFL, we'll never struggle again. And then I get on the other side of the injury, and it looks as if, like, God, what's up? It was as if God was saying, trust me, I got you. And I was like, I get that, God, but let me get the contract, and then I'll trust you. And God was like, no, I got something sweeter for you. It might be a little hard, it might take a little bit longer, but I just need you to trust me. And I'm like, I get that part, but my mother's working at Wendy's. I really want to help my mother. I got a little sister, she's here today. She goes to Tennessee State. Like, I really want to help my mother and my little sister. God was like, no, I got you. And so now when I look at it, I'm like, man, I'm so foolish. Like, God had it planned all along. As soon as I hit campus, God was like, let me get him in discipleship. Let me start preparing him for the battle before the battle even happens. Let me put victory in his spirit and in his mindset so when the injury happened, his perspective is already shifting. Let me get him prepared for it so when it happens, he can step back and see the bigger picture. And so the beauty of it was when Coach Foreman came to see me in the hospital, and I love it. Coach Foreman came to see me and he shook my hand. He said to me, Inky, how you doing? I said, Coach, I'm blessed. He said, you sure, buddy? I was like, yeah, I'm good. I was like, I gave everything. I'm good. He's like, you sure? I was like, yeah, Coach, I'm good. And he walked out and I could tell he was trying to figure it out. Like, man, why did he say that? And the beauty of it was when it happened, automatically something popped in my head that said, Inky, remember James chapter 1 when it says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of any kind, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and perseverance must finish this race so that you may be complete and lacking nothing. So in other words, you got to go through something in order to turn into the individual that God wants you to become. And I used to share with people all the time. I said, man, it's cute to quote scripture, but it's another thing when life puts you in a situation and you got to live it. And I noticed immediately God at work. Immediately. Because I was in a room with my mother and my father, and my whole life my mother had despised my father. Because my father left her when she was 16 and she had me. And so I was this all-star athlete, and my mother and my father couldn't even be in the same room. And for the first time in their life, they had to be in the same room without the foolishness, without worrying about what the next person is gonna think. They're in a room because they're not realizing, or they don't know what's about to transpire, and they don't know if their son is gonna live or die. They don't know if he's gonna get his arm amputated. They don't know anything. And my mother is sitting there and she's crying. And my father is lying on the floor, and his back is on the floor and his head is to the ceiling. And out of my father's mouth were the words, Ruby, I'm sorry. He said, you did a great job raising that boy. And I was like, God, I don't know what this is, but I know that's you. Because you got to feel me, every time they were around each other, it was like a Rottweiler and a Chihuahua, and my mother was the Rottweiler, right? And so when it happened, immediately, I knew it was God. Immediately. I didn't know what was about to happen, but I knew God was in the midst of the situation immediately, and the only thing I was trying to do was stay out of God's way and navigate the situation. I knew immediately when my teammates came to see me, it was an opportunity to witness, and they were going to look at me and see how is it going to respond in this situation. I knew immediately if I responded in the right way, Romans 8:28 could be in full effect. And we know that all things work to the good of those who love the Lord, who are called according to his will and his purpose. I knew immediately. And my father said to me, because the $1 million question I always get everywhere that I go, people say to me, Inky, come on, man, tell me, you'll change what happened to you, right? Because I always say, man, I wouldn't change what happened to me for the world. I always say, this is the third best thing that's ever happened to me outside of marrying my wife and having my 2 children. And people would pull me off to the side and the back and say, Ink, tell me, keep it real with me. You would change it, right? Like, you got a paralyzed right arm and hand, man. People pull me off, Ink, be real, man. If you could be in the NFL right now, making millions of dollars, you'll change that, right? And I'm like, no, I wouldn't change what happened to me for nothing. Let me tell you why. When my injury happened, my father said to me in the hospital, Inky, I'm gonna come and stay with you for the next 30 days. He said, I'm gonna just help you. Whatever you need help with, man. Washing clothes, whatever you need, I'm gonna help. Now, my father had never spoken like this, had never did anything like this. And I'll never forget, my father said something to the extent one day of, and how could this God let this happen to you? Like, my father wasn't a believer like that his whole life. It's like, Ink, I see you go to church and you give glory to God. Like, how could this God let this happen to you, man? Like, I see you go to FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Like, how could this God, like, let this happen to you, man? I call you on Saturday night, see if you're out at a bar, and you tell me you're in with your roommates and y'all doing some stuff for discipleship. Like, how could this God let this happen to you, man? Like, how could this God let this happen? And I'm like, man, God about to spank him. But I knew the 30 days that my father wanted to come stay with me, as bad as it may sound, it wasn't so much about my father coming and assisting, even though I know he wanted to assist, as much as it was about my father coming to say, let me see how he responds now. Like, I'm on the fence with my faith. My father at the time, I'm on the fence with my faith. People are talking about this God thing. I'm trying to figure it out. I really can't comprehend it. I see bad things happening to people that I consider to be good people. So let me try to figure it out. It's somebody I love, somebody I respect. Now they're going through an extreme level of opposition, and they've lost the thing that we both place our identity in. And so, yeah, I want to help him, but I really want to see how he's going to respond to the opposition. And he says he's a believer. Now I want to see if he's still going to pray at night. Now I want to see if he's still going to say, glory to God. Now I want to see if he's still going to say, hey man, can you take me to Fellowship of Christian Athletes? I knew it. And my father would take me to Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He would drop me off and he would say, I'll wait out here, Ink, I'll be waiting on you. He would take me to church, say, hey, Ink, I'll be waiting on you. He would go to rehab. When I would go to rehab, he would lay down on the table and they would be putting heat packs on his back. And they would put the heat pack on, put the heat pack on. And I'll never forget, one day we're in the training room and they're putting so many heat packs on his back that when they pulled the heat packs up, his back was completely raw, because he was carrying a burden that wasn't his to carry in the first place. He was trying to carry opposition that wasn't his to carry in the first place, but because he had no connection, it's like Wi-Fi. He couldn't connect, so he didn't have anybody to give it to, and his ego was in full effect, edging God out. His ego was in full effect, and it was breaking him. Every single day, he went from 6'3", 250, to every single day his back got lower and lower. And every single night, the routine was the same. I would get on my knees, I would pray at the same time. And my father would get up and he would walk by Ramon Foster's room, 6'7", 375. And he would say, hey, big boy, you good? Ramon would say, I'm good, Pop. He would walk by my room. He would say, Ink, you good? I would say, yes, sir, I'm good. He said, all right, good night. Every single night, on the 29th day, my number was 29. My favorite Bible verse is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. On the 29th day, the day before my father was scheduled to leave, I hear my father, hey, big boy, you good? Ramon says, I'm good, Pop. He walks by my room. I'm on my knees on the side of my bed getting ready to pray. I said, Ink, you good? I said, yes, sir, I'm good. He goes to walk off and he comes back. He steps in. He says, hey, Ink. I said, yes, sir. He said, you know that God you pray to? Yep. So you know that God you go to discipleship, FCA about? I said, yes, sir. You know that God I take you to church about? Yep. He said, if that God can help you handle this situation the way you handling it, he said, son, I want to give my life right. And not only did my father get saved, it corrected his household. He had a wife and he had 2 daughters. And so when a person says to me, NFL or my father's salvation, 10 out of 10 times I'm gonna choose my father's salvation. When somebody say to me, NFL or my teammates' salvation, 10 out of 10 times I'm gonna choose my teammates' salvation. Like, I wasn't a great teammate. Hear me, young people that play sports. I wasn't a great teammate because of my athletic ability. I was a great teammate because I pushed my teammates in every aspect of their life. I didn't want us to just be great football players, because I understood who we were as people was far more valuable than who we were as football players. I understood at one point it was going to have to end whether we wanted it to or not, and we had to have an identity of something that was a lot greater than sports, right? Like, I went through it for real. Like, this is not lip service. Like, I was in the hospital with 6 cuts down my left thigh, 1 cut across the left side of my neck, 1 across the right, twice through my right ribs, cut out my right pec, bottom of my armpit to the bottom of my hand, 350 staples in my body. Saturday night, I was running a 4.3840. Sunday morning, I was grabbing my father's shoulder and I was trying to learn how to walk again, walking laps around UT Medical's hospital. I was bench pressing 350 pounds. To Sunday morning, waking up and I couldn't feel my arm, and I would go to sleep early every single day because I thought it was a bad dream. Until they told me, son, you gotta break your plexus avulsion and you ruptured your subclavian artery in your chest, and we gotta take the main vein out of your left leg, plug it into your chest in order to save your life, or you won't be here in the morning. And they came to me and said, Inky, if we could just get you to assisted daily living. I said, what is that? They said, if we could just get you to the point to where you can get a grocery bag when you're with your wife and you can tuck the grocery bag under your arm, that'll be a win for us. They said, if we could just get you to a point that you can grab a pen or a pencil and you can just put your hand on it and write like a kid, that'll be a plus for us. They said, so here's the catch. We can put you in a 2-year process from Knoxville to the Mayo Clinic, and we'll order you every piece of equipment on the face of this planet for your arm. Said they're the best doctors in the world, right? I said, what's the catch? They said, the catch is this, Inky. We can't guarantee you after the 2 years that your arm will work. We can't guarantee you after the 2 years that your fingers will flex. We can't guarantee you after the 2 years that you will have feeling in your back, in your arm, in your shoulder. We can't guarantee any of that. It's a break your plexus. Nobody knows what's about to happen. They said, go to 10 people that you value and you respect and ask them their advice. I went to 10 people. I said, listen, man, here's the situation. What do you think? All 10 told me, Inky, don't do it. And I understood it. They cared about me. They loved me. I said, why? They said, they can't guarantee you that your arm will work. Why will you go through that? They said, they can't guarantee you all of this equipment is going to help you. Why would you go through that? And I remember responding to him in the fact of, man, I thought courage was the ability to start something without any guarantee of success. I thought courage was the ability to embrace a process and eliminate the reward. I said, so I get that, but I'm gonna do it. And I started down the path to do it, and I'm an energetic guy, I'm a passionate guy, right? And so one day they would have an arm skateboard for me. I would get on the arm skateboard, do the exercises. I would jump up off the table, go to the PT, and I would say, JD, what you got for me, man? And he would say, Ain't, come back tomorrow. The next day they would have some contraption, some type of balloon contraption. I'll get on it, I'll do it, I'll get up off the table. JD, what you got for me, man? Come back tomorrow. It's almost 2 years. Until one day I get up off the table, after exercise, I go over to JD and I say, JD, what you got for me, man? And JD walks off. And I jog over to him and I remember grabbing his shoulder and I started to turn him around. And when he turned around, he was crying. And he said to me, Ink, I'm sorry to tell you, but you will probably never be able to use that arm or that hand another day for the rest of your life. And I said to him, physically. He said, what you mean physically? I said, physically, our right hook is out of commission. I said, physically, JD, I can't do some of the things I want to do.
Now, let's talk about content, because no matter what you're doing in this room, you're gonna have to produce it to achieve what you want. The problem is, there's a lot of ways to produce content. One of the biggest issues that I'm excited to address here is in a world where Instagram does extremely well, or YouTube, people think pictures and videos are the only way to go. I'm here to tell you that 2 of the places I'm most excited about are the written word and audio. If you are not comfortable taking tons of pictures and videos, you immediately have to make a decision here today. Are you a good writer? And if you are, I have a lot of good news for you. I'll go to that in a minute. Or 2, if you like to talk, however you're uncomfortable with video, I couldn't be, back to your clapping, more passionate about the last 6 months in Indonesia. The consumption of podcasting in this country is exploding. The unbelievable ease to produce a podcast and distribute it in 2019 is remarkable. There's an app I've been talking about a long time. It just got bought by Spotify called Anchor. It's called Anchor. You can download it on your phone. You literally record on your phone. You press 2 more buttons and it puts it all over to the different podcasts. No friction. You could be doing it right now. So the excuse of I don't know how to do it, or how do I produce it, or do I have to go to the radio station, and how do I do nothing. Cost of entry 0. Friction 0. Literally, all you have to do is Google, how do I use Anchor, or download it. I highly recommend, if you have something to say about some category, I highly recommend getting very serious about podcasts, because I believe that audio over the next decade is going to be one of the biggest ways we consume, because we don't like wasting time. Humans love efficiency, and audio saves time. Audio is exploding and will continue to explode, and I highly recommend recommend you look at it seriously. Another thing that's interesting to me is actually a little tidbit I don't share very often, but I always say, watch what I do, not what I say. When I looked at the hashtag or the comments for this conference, I looked at a bunch of accounts. The number one mistake I believe people are doing on Instagram right now is not leaving enough written copy. If you look at my posts, when I post a picture or video on Instagram, I write a lot of copy. I don't do that for my health. I don't like wasting 3 minutes. I do it because it matters. So I know a lot of you are trying to build your Instagram. One of the best tidbits I can give you is please start adding 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences to your post. Add context, add clarity, add a little story. You will see substantial returns. Speaking of written, how many people here are on LinkedIn? Raise your hands. Quite a few. If you're paying attention to me, you might have noticed, literally, I've talked about LinkedIn more in the last 4 months than I have in the last 7 years. LinkedIn's content, business, it's business. And even if you're a fitness influencer, there's a way to do business content. Write an article, 6 things a traveling businesswoman and man can do when they're in a hotel room. So you can always make your content fit. LinkedIn organic reach on content is very high, very high. I highly recommend everybody here get serious about their LinkedIn. I know a lot of you haven't signed in 3 years, 4 years. The LinkedIn that many of us grew up with was just to get a job. It is now about business content. And I believe whether, again, you sell rugs or sneakers or wine, there's a way to write content for LinkedIn. Remember, the mindset of the person on LinkedIn is business. So you have to consider that it's different than Instagram, right? LinkedIn is your office. Instagram is the club, you know? So you have to act differently. You have to act differently, but I'm telling you right now, LinkedIn and Spotify podcasts for a lot of this room that hasn't been making is a very big opportunity. Posting 3-4 times a day on Instagram is a very big opportunity. All this content that I want you to write is a very big opportunity. Content is how you will make your happiness happen. Putting out content is how you will make your happiness, whether that's build a big business, whether that's get a dream job, a collaboration. Content, talking, content is how you'll make your happiness happen. The problem is I need you to look inside yourself and tell me why you're not doing it. To me, what I've learned in the last 5 or 7 years, I can sit here for half an hour and give you every detail. I can tell you right now that if you go into your explore page on Instagram and click on every one of those videos and then go leave a comment on that post, a thoughtful comment, watch the video or picture, not just hey or an emoji, look at it and spend 2 minutes and leave a comment, that if you do that 30, 40, 60, 100 times a day, if you're hungry, if you're ambitious, if you want something, if you do that, I know that will work. It will work. You will grow. You will get more attention. You will get more attention to your business, to yourself. My question is, why won't you do it? My question is, why won't you do it? Will you not leave a comment because you're nervous to leave a comment on somebody who's famous's page? Will you not leave a comment because you think somebody's going to judge your comment? Will you not leave a comment because you don't want to spend an hour leaving comments? Why? For me, everything is about reverse engineering. What do you want to happen? Like what? What do you want to happen? And then understanding in 2019 that written words, audio, and video on 7 platforms can get you there is remarkable. It's just remarkable. It's so crazy to me. I'm sitting here listening as I'm talking, and I'm literally blown away that I believe it. I mean it. I'm shocked that we are now living at a time where the internet is at scale. The apps that dominate the culture are free. You could literally walk out of here right now and start the process of changing the course of your life if you want. And literally the only thing left now, because the excuse of money and time is over. That's amazing. The fact that money and time have been subsidized by the internet because you can lay in bed and do it at 11 p.m. if you want, and the cost is zero. You don't have to buy a store and open it, like zero. It eliminates all your excuses. And now the question is, why not? Why are you not? And so I'm very passionate of getting this room today to start thinking about what they want to be doing and how and where and why. I'm breaking it down into audio, written word, videos, and pictures. You know what the 5 or 6 platforms are. Now it just becomes the match to get it started. And more importantly, and the biggest thing that I fear, will the group have enough patience to see the results? I was on Twitter from 2007 to 2011, and I replied to every single person that tweeted at me. And in the beginning, because nobody knew who I was, I went to Twitter search and I searched the word wine and other wine terms, found people talking about it, jumped into the conversation, and left good information. I did that for 7 to 8 hours a day for 4 years before anybody gave a fuck about who I was. Let me say that slowly one more time. For 7 to 8 hours a day, for 4 years, I would go to Twitter search wine terms, jump into them, and give information for 4 years before anybody gave a fuck who I was. Now I get DMs from people saying, in 3 weeks I'll get a DM from somebody here saying, Gary, saw you in Jakarta, it was awesome. I started doing stuff, I'm not getting any traction. I reply, that's nice, Mario. You've been doing it for 3 fucking weeks.
You've got to believe in your abilities. You've got to believe in your service, your company, your ideas, unquestionably. You've got to have faith, and that faith gives you patience. That it's not going to happen as quickly as you want it to happen. A lot of things are going to happen that will catch you off guard. And so therefore you've got to deal with and handle it as it comes. And not only that, but that faith and patience drives you into action. You've got to keep moving and keep plugging away. In the Far East, they have something that's called the Chinese bamboo tree. The Chinese bamboo tree takes 5 years to grow. And when they go through a process of growing it, they have to water and fertilize the ground where it is every day. And it doesn't break through the ground until the 5th year, okay? But once it breaks through the ground, within 5 weeks, it grows 90 feet tall. Now the question is, does it grow 90 feet tall in 5 weeks or 5 years? The answer is obvious. It grows 90 feet tall in 5 years, because at any time that person stopped watering and nurturing and fertilizing that dream, that bamboo tree would have died in the ground. And I can see people coming out talking to a guy out there watering and fertilizing the ground that's not showing anything. Hey, what you doing? Been out here a long time, man. And the conversation in the neighborhood is, you growing a Chinese bamboo tree, is that right? Yeah, that's right. Well, even Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder can see ain't nothing showing. You know that's how people gonna do you? So how long you been working on this? How long have you been working on your dream? It's good. And you have nothing to show. This is all you got to show. People gonna do that to you. And some people, ladies and gentlemen, they stop. Because they don't see instant results. It doesn't happen quickly. They stop. Oh, no. You got to keep on watering your dream. And when it began to happen, they stopped laughing. They said, look, whoa, look here. Look out. Hey, man, you know, I know you can do it. Look here, you got a job here? See, during those hard times, we didn't know how you're going to make payroll. During those times when you failed and things didn't work out, they were nowhere to be found. But you know what I discovered? When you're working at your dream, somebody said the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. Oh, it's sweet to you. It's good to you. Why? See, when it's hard and there's a struggle, see, what you become in the process is more important than the dream. That's far more important. The kind of person you become, the character that you build, the courage that you develop, the faith that you're manifesting. Oh, it's something that you get up in the morning, you look yourself in the mirror, you're a different kind of person. You walk with a different kind of spirit. And people know that you know what life is, that you have embraced life. You knew it was hard, but you did it hard.
By the way, let me give you a secret. You're going to laugh at this. Why am I telling you this? You know squirrels can't find 74% of the nuts they hide? Is that a fun fact or what? No, I'm serious. These little fools, they can't find 74%. They did a study on it. Is that crazy? Look it up. Well, I'll prove it to you. Check this out. Look at I read interesting things. Go to Elmo. This is a breakthrough. This is like a breaking news. This should be on CNN tonight. Now it can be told. All about squirrels and nuts. That's what I read when I'm at home. Now it can be told. And let me tell you, scientists have long thought that gray squirrels, which are far more common to the eastern seaboard than their red cousins, can not only remember where they dug their holes, but also smell the nuts they've buried. But they must not be too good at either skill, since studies show they fail to recover 74% of the nuts they bury. Right there. Why does that matter? Because you've been burying your dreams all your damn life. And guess what? You keep thinking you're waiting for the right time. When winter comes, you go find your little acorns, right? You think you're going to find them? Let me tell you something. You keep burying those dreams, the longer you wait, the harder they are to find. It's time you dig those things out right now and find them and put them right in front of you again and go chase them. Say you're with me on that. Jamie said it earlier and I said it. You absolutely can have it all here. You can have a great family and a great business and a great financial situation and feel great about yourself and travel the world and do whatever the heck it is you want. But you need to dig those dreams out right now. I want you to start picturing, what is it that you really want? Why are you really doing that? Really? Is it for any of those people sitting around you? Do you want to make any of them proud of you? Do you want to prove all of them they were right? Do you want to do wonderful things for your children? Do you want your children to know they can do anything in life because you've done anything in your life? God God made you and believes in you. He's around you all the time. He wants to bless you. He wants you to do great work for people. The more you carry him with you into your phone calls and your meetings and the interactions with people, the more he'll bless them. There'll be setbacks. There's going to be people being mean to you. That's all part of the process. That's part of the jockstrap. That's part of the best day of your life, worst day of your life stuff. But let me just tell you something. You can't get there unless you invite those people with you. Now, are you willing to do the ugly, by the way? You know what the ugly is, right? The ugly is doing all the stuff the people who lose aren't willing to do. You got to make those phone calls. You got to see people. You're going to have to put up with some rejection. You got to put yourself in an uncomfortable place. Listen to me. Do it. Put yourself in an uncomfortable place. Don't negotiate it. Don't try to navigate it in your head. Negotiation, you will lose. Okay? Unrealistic people rule the world. Quit trying to be so dadgum realistic. Okay? Remember this. Weird, rich, normal, poor. Can you remember that? Say yes. Get a little goofy. Look at Cardone. He's a complete whack job, just so you know. You got to get a little road dog in you. People are looking for leaders. People are looking for you. They don't know it yet, but they're looking for someone who will love them. Introduce them into people that can change their life. Believe in them. Care about them. Tell them the truth. This company stands for something good. We do what's right for families. You should be proud of it. We do great work every day out there, changing lives across the kitchen table, conversations at a Starbucks, a meeting at a convention, a conversation across someone's kitchen table that changes lives every single time. It changes lives.
Maybe you heard the story about the evangelist here in Texas way back in the horse and buggy days. Used to put up his tent in, these various Texas towns and hold tent revivals. And he put up his tent, one of these towns, expected a big crowd to come and hear him preach. And he got there first night of the tent revival, and he walked inside the tent. It was empty. And he thought, something must be wrong. He waited till 8 o'clock. Nobody showed up. He waited till 8:15. Not a soul. Finally, 8:30. One lone cowboy wandered up on his horse, tied his horse up outside, came in, sat down on the front bench, big empty tent. So the preacher thought, well, at least I better go down and talk to the cowboy. So he goes down and talks to the cowboy, and he says, Cowboy, I don't know what to tell you. He said, I'm the preacher, and this tent was supposed to be full of people. And he said, something's gone wrong. I really don't know what to do. I'm embarrassed. And he said, I don't know what to do. And the cowboy said, well, I'm not a preacher. I'm just a cowboy, so I can't tell you what to do. But he said, I know this, if I went out to feed my cattle and only one showed up, I'd at least feed it. So the preacher said, hey, the cowboy is right. If you've got a message to share, if there's one person or 1,000, don't let your ego get in the way. You should do the best you can. So he got kind of inspired by this conversation with the cowboy, jumped up on the platform, started preaching as if the tent was full of people. And he was so inspired, he just kept going, went for an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half. Finally, wound down and quit. Come down off the platform, talked to the cowboy again, said, well, cowboy, what did you think of my sermon? The cowboy said, well, I'm not a preacher, so I can't really tell. I'm just a cowboy. But he said, I know this. If I went out to feed my cattle and only one showed up, I'd feed it, but I wouldn't dump the whole load on it. So, if it seems like we're dumping the whole load here today, I guess we really are. But you guys are working hard. Does anybody have 4 pages of notes? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. My job, I'm getting it done. Wonderful. We should give a prize one of these days for the most notes. Fantastic. I congratulate you. You're working as hard as I am. I appreciate that. Okay, we got some more work to do, so let's go to work. Everybody's okay? Say, I'm okay. I'm okay. All right. I'd love to take you with me as my traveling audience. Wow. We've covered the first 2 abilities in the personal development quest. One is the ability to absorb, don't miss anything, pay attention. Good watchword for the 90s, pay attention. Things are moving so fast these days, you gotta pay attention, pick it up, soak up the colors, soak up the sounds, soak up what's going on. Second, respond, let life touch you. Let the emotions affect you as well as the sights. Now here's the third ability, develop the ability to reflect. Reflect means go back over, study it again. Go back over these notes that you're taking today. Go back through the cassettes one more time. Read the text one more time. But there's more to it than that. Go back over your day. I call it run the tapes again. so that the day locks in firmly. Here's some good times to reflect. 1, at the end of the day. Take a few minutes at the end of the day. Go back over the day. Who'd you see and what'd they say and what happened? How'd you feel? What went on? So that you capture that day. A day is a piece of the mosaic of your life. Number 1, don't treat it casual. Number 2, get from the day. And then number 3, go back over the day so that it locks in that experience, the knowledge, the sights, the sounds, the panorama, the color, motion, picture of the day. Just lock it in so that it will serve you for the future. Having that day, not missing. Next, take a few hours at the end of the week. Call time to reflect. Go back over your day timer. Go back over your calendar. Go back over your appointment book. Where did you go and who did you see and how did it feel and what went on? Capture that week. A week is a pretty good chunk of time. Next, take half a day at the end of the month. Call time to reflect. And do the same thing again. Go back over what you read. Go back over what you heard. Go back over what you saw. Go back over the feelings to capture it so that it serves you. Next, take a weekend at the end of the year to establish this year now firmly in your consciousness, firmly in your experience bank, so that you got it, so that it never disappears. Good ability to acquire, the ability to reflect. Go back over. Remember, remember, remember. It's so valuable to be able to remember the thought, remember the idea, remember the experience, remember the occasion, remember the day, remember the weather, remember the emotion, remember the complexity, remember the highs, remember the lows. So valuable at the end of the day. Lock that day in. Lock the month in. Lock the week in. Lock the year in.
Well, listen, on the way to accomplishing your dreams and visions, there's going to be a lot of challenges. There's going to be a lot of setbacks. It's not going to be easy, and discipline is a huge part of it. But more important than discipline is your faith. You are a religious country. If you do not hold on to your faith, whatever it is, you cannot make it. You can't. I'm sorry. I don't care what your faith is. Without your faith in God, along with the discipline, you will never make it. You cannot get to the top without faith. If you get to the top without faith, it's temporary. It will not last. You have to stay focused, because listen to me, it's really, really hard to be successful. Let me tell you this. Look at me. It's really, really hard to be successful. But I want to tell you something else. It's really, really hard not to be successful. I've been both. See, you see me today, but you didn't see me in school when I had a severe stuttering problem. I couldn't talk without a stutter, and I flunked out of school. You're looking at a man who was homeless. I lived in a car for 3 years. Me, you see all of these TV shows and Suits and Hollywood, but I lived in a car for 3 years. I made a lot of mistakes. You have got to be really, really focused, because challenges are going to happen all throughout your life. You're going to be told no over and over and over again. You're going to have people in your family who will not believe what you tell them. I'm going to be a TV star. No, you're not. No, you cannot. You cannot be a TV star. No one in this family is a TV star. No one in this neighborhood is a TV star. No one in this school is a TV star. And you stutter. And you black. So what? Now you're going, whoa, I cannot stop being black, so this is with me. So my focus and my faith, my belief in God, He has kept me through all of my dark moments. When I was living in that car for 3 years, God, He kept me. He kept me understanding that He was just testing me, that I had to pass all my tests. That's what happens to a lot of old people. See, they stop passing the test. They thought that because something happened to them negative along the way, that it wasn't meant to be. That's not true. It was just a test. You gotta keep passing the test. You dig? Life is never going to be just, you just can't, it's silly. You can't just, happy. No, something gonna happen. Somebody you love gonna die. Something you want to happen won't happen. Something you attempt to do, you're going to fail at it. This is life. This is all the time. So the dream that you have has to be bigger than all your problems. My dream was so big, it was bigger than all my problems. So when I was homeless, my dream was bigger. When they told me no, my dream was bigger. When they said you were black, we will not hire black people here. my dream was bigger. What? Bigger. My dream was bigger than all my problems. And my faith in God, what they gonna do? What? When you have God, you have everything. You have everything. That's serious business. That's the business.
I want to give you a quote from Ralph J. Corner, who said this at a leadership conference when he was chairman of the board of General Electric. He said, "We need from every person who aspires to leadership a determination to undertake a personal program of self-development. Nobody is going to order a person to develop. Whether a person lags behind or moves ahead in his specialty is a matter of his own personal application. This is something that takes time, work, and sacrifice. Nobody can do it for you." Now that, my friends, is good advice. Start living that advice. People who reach the top rungs in business, engineering, selling, law, real estate, medical care, people who reach the top rungs in any pursuit, get there by following conscientiously and continually a plan for self-development and growth. That's exactly what these tapes are about. Now, any plan for success has to have three components. The first is the what component. You've got to know what it is you're trying to do. The second is the how component. How do you go about accomplishing your goals? And the third component is the payoff, results. In this plan for success that you're developing now, the what component is built on the attitudes and techniques of successful people. How do they manage themselves? How do they overcome obstacles? How do successful people earn the respect of others? Now, the how of this plan for self-development and growth is a series of concrete guides for action, like the one you've just heard for developing self-belief. You'll be hearing more of these. Let me emphasize that these guides work. They've been proven countless of times by thousands of people. I urge you to try them and see for yourself. This leads to the third component, results. Let me tell you what results you can expect, and I assure you that conscientious application of this plan will achieve them. Your personal training program for success will bring you greater respect from your friends and family. It'll bring you the admiration of your business associates, greater status, increased income, and a higher standard of living. Think of this plan as an experiment, and you're the scientist in charge. You already have a fully equipped laboratory in which to work and study. That laboratory is all around you. It consists of the people in your life, the people you see on the street, the people you work with, the people you live with, and of course, yourself. This laboratory is rent-free, and there is no limit to the amount of time you can spend in it, nor to what you can learn from it. So, as the director of this laboratory, you'll want to conduct some observations and experiments. I want to give you an experiment to start with right now.
To conduct this experiment, pick the two people you know that you feel are the most successful. If you want to, jot their names down in the booklet. And then pick the two most unsuccessful people that you know. And as you follow this plan for self-development and success, come back to this set of names and observe how the principles and ideas that you'll be hearing apply to these people. Anytime you run across an attribute or a practice that pertains to successful people, recall the names you've picked and see who it best applies to. And do the same for the unsuccessful attributes that you'll be hearing. For example, self-belief is the important attribute of successful people that David Schwartz has described. Which of the people you've picked does it apply to? If your experiment bears out the results of others who've conducted it, you'll notice that successful people adhere to the techniques and methods of positive, big thinking, while unsuccessful people display the attributes of self-defeat and mediocrity.
Now, one of the first attributes I think you'll consistently notice among unsuccessful people is a disease that is one of the biggest enemies of success. I call this disease excusitis. Here's what excusitis sounds like.
I don't know if I can do this job. I mean, this is really out of my league. I'm not a genius, you know.
Well, I'd like to take on more of the work that would really be important to me, but I really don't see where I have the time to do it. I'm really rushed now just to finish the work that I already have. I can't imagine how I would find more hours in the day to finish more work.
You know what they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and believe me, this old dog is just too far along to start anything anything new at this point.
Look, with my health the way it is, I just do what I can to get by. I'm not about to press my luck and give myself a heart attack.
Sounds pretty awful, doesn't it? And if you looked at the lives, ambitions, and accomplishments of these people, I can tell you what you'd find. Not much. A lot of mediocrity. In case after case, excuse-itis is the difference between the person who is going places and the person who is going nowhere.